The story of Adolf Hitler doesn't begin with armies marching or cities burning. It begins with hunger. Not just for food or power, but for meaning. In the wreckage left by World War I, Germany was bruised, angry, and desperate for direction. Into that emotional vacuum stepped a man who promised revival, revenge, and glory. And millions listened. That is where the scars truly start. This episode on the scars of a global stormfronts is not about shock value. It's about understanding how ambition, when fused with resentment and myth, can reshape the world and tear it apart. World War II was not just a geopolitical conflict for Hitler. It was personal. He saw himself as the central figure in a historic struggle. Every decision became filtered through his ego. Military advice that contradicted his vision was dismissed. Retreat was forbidden. Flexibility vanished. This rigidity cost Germany dearly. As the war dragged on, resources thinned and enemies adapted. But Hitler doubled down. He demanded loyalty over competence, faith over facts. The more desperate the situation became, the more extreme his decisions grew. Ambition, once a driving force, became a trap. By the later years of World War II, Germany was bleeding on multiple fronts. Still, Hitler refused to accept reality. He believed one bold strike could reverse everything. One decisive move to shock the world and reclaim momentum. This was the final gamble. A high-risk push driven by belief rather than balance. It failed. Not because the soldiers lacked courage, but because ambition had blinded leadership. Strategy gave way to fantasy. And well, fantasy does not win wars. The collapse that followed was swift and brutal. When Germany finally fell, the cost was staggering. Tens of millions dead, cities reduced to rubble, families erased, entire regions traumatized for generations. Hitler's ambition did not just fail him, it consumed everything around him. What makes this story essential is not the spectacle of destruction, but the lesson buried beneath it. Ambition without restraint does not create greatness, it creates wreckage. When leaders stop listening and start believing they are history itself, disaster becomes inevitable. This is not just a World War II story, it's a human one. Ambition still drives leaders, movements and nations. The same emotional triggers still exist. Fear, pride, humiliation, the hunger to belong to something bigger. Understanding Hitler's ambition is not about fascination with evil. It's about recognizing warning signs. When certainty replaces curiosity. When enemies are blamed for everything. When one voice claims exclusive access to destiny. History doesn't repeat perfectly, but it rhymes loudly. Europe rebuilt, Germany rebuilt, but the scar remains, not just in monuments or textbooks, but in collective memory. Hitler's ambition left a permanent imprint on how the world views power, propaganda, and unchecked leadership. At the scars of a global stormfronts, we dig into these stories because forgetting them is dangerous. Understanding them is armor. If this episode sharpened your perspective, do not keep it to yourself. Subscribe to the channel. Share this story. History only protects us when we listen to it.